my name's Andy Reid, and this is the Alchemicast right here at Alchemical Records, where we focus on musicians from the DMV area and give them a chance to talk about what they got going on and what they got going on in the months to come. With me on the band on today's episode, I have Amulet, MJ, and Stephanie. They're a dark alternative rock band from Washington, D.C., and they have a whole lot to say about what it means to be a band interested in vampires and gothic rock. Please welcome on today's show, Amulet. Amulet, you guys are live on the Alchemicast. How's it going? Thanks for coming on the show.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for taking the time to do this.
Great.
Definitely. I'm good.
Yeah, so maybe you could start off just by introducing yourselves and telling a little bit about the band.
Yep. I am Stephanie Stryker. I'm from the Nova area. Lived in DC my whole life. And
I'm MJ. I am living in DC, originally from the UK. I've been in the States since 1996, and this is my home now. So, yeah, that's me.
yep. So we got this band together, like, what was it, a year ago?
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically during COVID, really. And the two of us have been in a previous band for quite a number of years, maybe about 10 years, mostly doing covers. And back in October of 19, it sort of got to the point where we were feeling like it was time to do some original material. And, you know, nobody ever has time. Well, some people do, but I've never had time to write much original material because I'm too busy. And then suddenly COVID came along and no commuting. And like, you know, for some reason, I felt the need to stay up until 3 a.m, pretty much every night. And during all that time, it's like, okay, this is it. Now we can write.
Yep.
So,
When it hits you, right? You just got to take advantage of that moment and drive. Of course. I understand that. As musicians from the DMV, you guys are aware of all the venues and other musicians that have played around the area and how they got their start. Where did you guys get your start? And what was one of your most memorable experiences at a venue?
good question.
Well, we're working on having a band experience at a venue.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
nothing yet on that. But just like, I don't know, the best shows I've ever seen mostly are at 930 Club. So there's some epic shows there. I've gone there since I was 18. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was in a band based in Charlottesville in the mid-90s, and we used to play a club called Tracks, which is no longer there. That was probably one of the most fun places we played because the sound system was good. I'm like obsessed with stage sound because, you know, as a musician, you want to enjoy the show too. And I played so many places where the stage sound is poor and you're struggling the whole time. You got to like lock on the bass drum. You're like really listening for the bass drum. You listen for your cues, and it's just like really different on stage than it is out in the hall. And when you don't get a good mix in your monitor, it's like it feels like a struggle the whole time.
Yeah.
So, but a good stage sound makes a huge difference to me. And Tracks used to have a great stage sound, at least for me. And they had the good monitor mix. And so, yeah, that was really good. And that's where I kind of started off with playing in a band, really.
Yeah. In the green room, you guys mentioned that you have some rehearsal space or time at Barco Rebar in Falls Church. What are some of the areas that you guys frequent as musicians?
Well, we've been to a lot of different rehearsal spaces around the area. East Coast Drums is one that I've enjoyed because they've got it kind of set up like a stage. And I like that because, you know, I've always been told, you know, practice as you're going to play. And I like doing a stage setup so everybody's where they're going to be when they're actually playing the gig, because I like to be, you know, I like to have all my crutches, like have my set list taped on the floor in front of me, you know, like everything needs to be where it needs to be. I want to be in the same place relative to the drummer, so I'm looking between the cymbals the same way. You know, I'm kind of like OCD on that sort of stuff. And so that's a good place to do that, to really practice how you're going to be when you're playing. We played at 7 Drum City. And where else have we rehearsed? I mean, we used to rehearse in our drummer's basement.
Yeah.
But I think some of these other places are better. Barco Rebar's got great equipment. So that, I mean, a lot of good places, but those are some of the places we've rehearsed, and they're all good in different ways.
So more on Amulet as a band. I was describing you as a dark alternative rock group with some themes focused loosely about vampires, and that's only because of your latest video titled Vampire. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'll just say about the band in general. Yes, it's dark themes. Of course, I consider myself a goth girl, but not necessarily a goth band. Though with lots of goth influences is what I personally like. But so MJ wrote this song for us. You can talk about that.
Well, knowing of Steph's personal style, I thought it would be, knowing she was going to be singing the song, it just like seemed to be an appropriate song. And I think I started this one, like I shop in Little a lot, and they always have kind of music going on. And when I'm walking around, I'll find myself humming something, and not necessarily like the tune that's playing, because it's usually really quiet, but I'll pick up on some chord or some like, something going on with it, and I'll start humming. And then I think that one, I saw a box of like breakfast cereal that was themed around vampires for kids. And suddenly it was like, that's it. And it just like all percolated in my brain as I was waiting to go through the checkout.
Didn't know that. Count Chocula, gotta be it.
It probably was it. Yeah, it was probably that.
I love this. I didn't know that.
But it all kind of, it's one of those ones that just sort of fell together. I mean, some of the songs fell together quickly. Others were just like, started off great, and then just finishing it was really tough. But that one just seemed to like fall together pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we chose this first as our first single because I felt like it was really us. It's just like very on brand for us. So
yeah.
Individually, what are some sources for your inspiration?
You go.
Well, I grew up in the UK in the 1980s. So, I was just thinking like the very first 45 RPM single I bought, I think it was Life on Mars by David Bowie.
Hell yeah.
I remember playing it on my grandma's like phonograph, it would have been called back in the day. And so I got into like the whole glam rock scene was really kind of big, and David Bowie's kind of part of that. But there were lots of other bands like the Sweet. I was really into a band called the Sweet, and some other bands, Slade and various others. Anyway, so that was like it was a fun period because performers were really dressing up and having fun on stage, and so that to me that was very interesting because it looked like it was fun. And as a kid, I wanted to have fun, and it seemed more interesting than sort of other music, which seemed very kind of staid to me. And they were out there sort of blasting it, and that's where I started off, and then just sort of gradually got into it. And then back in, I think it's which year it was, somebody else will know this, but Led Zeppelin played at Nebworth. One of my friends said, we got to go and see Led Zeppelin. So we went down and saw Led Zeppelin. And honestly, before I saw Zepp, I was like, I'm going to go down and see this band. I don't even know what they sound like. So I went out and bought this record. It was Led Zepp 2. And I played Led Zepp 2. And I'm like, wow, like that's the theme from Top of the Pops, like Whole Lot of Love. And because they used to play this thing every week on Top of the Pops.
You got to get the lead out.
Right. So like, so it started off with some bands like that. And then, just like very eclectic after that, really different stuff. Got into reggae and funk as well. And so a bunch of different stuff. Pink Floyd you'd mentioned earlier. So yeah, definitely. Love David Gilmour's guitar solos, like some of the best. The Wall was big when we were kids as well. Because, we don't need no education. Obviously appealed to us because we were sick of school.
Yeah, it's just
school's great, by the way, for everybody who's watching that like is going to school.
Stay
in school. But for us, it was like a rebel song,
And just another way to get back at the man. Stephanie, how about you? What are some of your inspirations?
Actually, it's funny because I also started off young being obsessed with David Bowie, and I have many David Bowie tattoos. And so I also liked glam rock a lot for the same reasons, because it was fabulous and fun and interesting. And I had always been more of like a dark glitter type of person. So I started to listen to, like, back when I was in high school, it was like Nine Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson and folks like that, Ministry. So I started down that type of dark path and just started to get actually into goth rock of the classics, Sister Mercy and Cure and stuff like that. And so now I have them all in my DNA, and they all just come out without asking. So in everything I do, and probably part of it is that I love like any kind of fabulous fashion. So that just comes out in being like the fanciest way to express myself, which has to happen apparently. Yeah.
When you guys get together to write a song, what does that process look like? Can you tell us just a little bit about the songwriting process, or how you guys come together and write new material?
Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
Do you want me to start on that one?
Sure.
So basically, I think right at the beginning of COVID, sorry. I just thought it was time to start writing some original material. So just got started, and we were really talking about the technology, because Stephanie actually lives in Dallas right now. And so we've collaborated on this between DC and Dallas, Texas. And she got Logic. I had Sony Acid, which is kind of good for loops, and it's good for organizing tracks. But I ended up getting Pro Tools to sort of start recording stuff.
Yep.
And so Stephanie was using Logic, I was using Pro Tools, and I would write something, send it down to her, and then she would drop in a vocal track over my awful vocals. I really can't sing, but enough to get like some lyrics in the right place at least. And then she would send me back a sort of a demo version of that. Then I do some more mixing on it, add some guitars, stuff like that, and slowly but surely we'd build the track up. So I would record the bass parts, the keys, and the guitars, and those actually remain from my home studio in Pro Tools. And we took them to Devin Spirit Exhale Studios, and we also got a drummer, Caleb Gilbreth, who's based in Nashville, who put all the drum tracks down for us. And then a friend of ours, Gavin Shah, did some guitar, and also John Taylor, who is Stephanie's brother, who lives in Nashville, who's a session player, also kind of added guitar, and he did most of the leads. My leads aren't very strong. I've got a couple on there, but he's like a shredder, so he's added some really neat leads to it. So that was kind of the process, more or less. And then when we went into Exhale Studios, I think it was October and April.
Yep.
Stephanie put down the actual final vocal tracks, recorded at Exhale, and then Devin mixed it with the stuff, the wave files that we gave him, and brought in Caleb's drums. And then it was we worked with Devin on the mixes, and then Konrad Osipowicz, hopefully that's the correct pronunciation of his last name. Konrad, please don't kill me if I get it wrong. But he's great, and he did a terrific job on mastering the track. So that was basically the process. And we did a lot of toing and froing on lyrics and things like that. And I would say, like, this isn't quite right. You know, what do you think? You've got something you could do with that. And then Stephanie started writing some songs as well, which is really interesting, because I get this thing, and it's like this completely finished song, pretty much, like all the lyrics and melody, everything in one go. And Steph's like, okay, so put some music to this.
I had never written any songs before, so I'm not like a musician. I just sing. And so this is my first chance ever to write songs. So I've written some lyrics and a lot of the vocal melodies, and then I did start to experiment with some actual music writing. So I'm growing. But yeah, we collaborated on all of it. So he added all the music to mostly everything that I did.
Yeah, it was really collaborative, and it was great because we found that we could work really well together, despite the fact we were like a long way apart, because we communicated well, and it just turned out to flow, and the chemistry was good in terms of like what we wanted to do. We were on the same page. So it just made it like super easy to work together. And Devin is really great to work with as well. And so when we were doing all the mixing and everything, it was just a great team. Just made it super easy.
Yep.
Yeah. Devin, is he at Blue Room Studios in Herndon?
Yeah, I think it's called Exhale Recording now. I think it's changed the name recently, sometime during the time we were over there. But yes, that's it, in Herndon. So we did it all in Herndon at his studio.
Yep.
Yeah. I recorded an album with him way back in the day. I mean, I say way back, but it was probably like 2015, 2018, something like that. And Blue Room, it had, which is now Exhale, I guess, had tremendous facilities. When you guys are working on an album and you reach a frustrating part, you just can't get that one riff, or you're not hitting that vocal hook, what do you do in order to look at that challenge and come up with a solution?
The biggest challenge was the second half of Witchfinder, I think, wasn't it?
That wasn't really during recording. That was during like when we were writing.
Yeah.
Do you mean during recording or anything?
In general, but like, let's say that you're in the studio and you're really trying to nail a part, and it isn't working for you. What do you do in that moment?
Well, when we're in the studio, it's mostly just me doing the singing, although you have done a little vocalization.
I have a little bit.
So he's very patient with me, and most of the time it's fine. And I just have to say I have to take a break now. So it works well. I just take my break, and then it's fine. So
Yeah,
him being patient is very helpful.
we didn't actually hit too many snags. I think it was one where it was like we were running late on which one was it? Out of Control.
Yeah.
And the harmonies at the end. That was probably the one that was just like, I think we were all tired and it was at the end of the day, but we got it. I mean, we got it in the end, so it was good. Yeah. No, we didn't have too much that was really tough. It was more like during the writing process. But when you're doing it at home, and so I usually jam stuff. So particularly on the guitar, like I come up with a bass line idea, and then I'll just start playing guitar and loop the bass line and just start playing and record everything until I find something I like, and then I just keep it. And if I start with something else, like on Stephanie's tracks, I will just keep playing bass lines until I find the right one. And on Last Ditch, the bass line just sort of, it just sold itself. It just like was right there, right from the get-go. And on Witchfinder, I think I had about 50 different lines that I tried, and none of them were what I wanted. And then finally, I'm like, this is not like rocket science. Just play something super simple. Just play the simplest rocking sounding bass line you can do and see what that's like. And so it's just like, it's a very simple bass line, but it just worked with the song. So
those are the two songs that I wrote on the album, or Last Ditch and Witchfinder. So he was very helpful in figuring out what the music was supposed to sound like. It just took a little while for me to express, because since I don't have like the background of musician language, it was a challenge, but we figured it out.
Yeah.
You are a musician nonetheless, right?
Yeah. It's really rewarding when you find like the right, or at least what you believe is the right thing. It's like, they say that every sculpture starts as a piece of rock, and all you need to do is like chip away the bits that aren't needed.
Right.
And you find the actual thing. And if you find that line that just feels like it's the right one, that's a very satisfying feeling, at least to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, at this point in the show, I'd like to take a moment to transfer over to a new segment we're trying to start called This or That. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to present you with two options, and you just have to tell me this or that and a little bit about why you made that choice. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So to start things off, 9:30 Club or Black Cat?
Got to be 9:30 for me, because I've seen all the good shows there. I've only been to Black Cat once. Sorry.
9:30 because I haven't been to Black Cat, but hopefully we can play at Black Cat, so we'll change that soon.
Yeah.
All right. Pizza or wings?
Pizza, because I'm vegan, so it's way easier to make vegan.
Yeah, pizza as well, for sure. And I don't have a good explanation for it, but probably what she said.
Okay, Black Sabbath or Dio?
Sabbath.
Sabbath or Devo?
Dio.
Oh, Dio. Oh, Sabbath for sure. Yeah, I mean they come from just up the street from where I was born.
Oh,
yeah.
I just like the dark. That's like the first like doom metal that exists. So
yeah, and I played. Paranoid came on the radio one morning when I was like on some small Scottish island where it had been raining at night. We slept on the beach. And I tried to dry my shoes on the fire, but unfortunately it melted them. So like I had to like leave the island with no shoes. But it was raining in the morning as well. But Paranoid, we were like angel stomping to Paranoid on the beach anyway. We didn't care. Gotta love
story.
Sabbath. Yeah.
That's awesome. What about flip-flops or Crocs?
Oh my God, flip-flops. Crocs, just no.
Neither.
No.
Neither.
No one
Neither.
wants to see guy feet. Is that the reason?
I just don't like either of those. I just have like different tastes in footwear.
Yeah.
Things that can fall off easily, I don't like.
Okay, so you're falling on neither flip or flop. You prefer
I'm
this.
flipping and flopping between
Okay,
yeah,
neither this nor that. That's all right.
I'm a flip flop.
Backstreet Boys or NSYNC?
No, it's gonna be BSB for me. Sorry. Yeah. I liked Nick and AJ back in the day.
I'm gonna go with neither again. This is not my music.
No.
Not bad, but just not my music.
No.
Right on. Okay, well, thank you guys for playing this or that. That was just a small segment. And moving forward, I wanted to ask you a question that I posed to you in the green room, if you remember. Something I ask every band and artist that comes on the show is, what does it mean to them to be a musician from the DMV? And usually the answers are something personal or passionate, but it's really whatever you feel as that answers the question. So, MJ and Stephanie, what does it mean to you to be musicians from the DMV?
Let's see. Well, I am from the DMV. My blood is here from a long time ago. So I think it's really cool to be able to like kind of express and grow that like heritage of Northern Virginia and DC out into whoever wants to experience it. And I don't see a whole lot of music like ours coming out of this area. So I think that's even more interesting. And I think that makes it more diverse and fun. Oh, what about you?
I think, I mean, I don't know if I feel like I'm a musician from the DMV yet, because like I'd like to be more a part of like the music, the kind of musician community here. Like I'm just a sort of a person who plays in a band, and we're in this band, but there is a really great music community here, and I think kind of building that community is part of what I'd like to be part of that. And there's a great Facebook group, DMV musicians.
Yeah.
Parentheses, no promotion. There's one promotion, there's no promotion.
Mm-hmm.
The no promotion one's got more members, and it really deals with a lot of great issues, and there's a lot of great people on that. So I think being part of that kind of group has been really made me feel part of this community. You can ask all kinds of questions and like get really useful answers. So I think so far, particularly during COVID, that's been my sort of expression of being part of this community, is like tapping into that group, and it's been super helpful.
Yeah, and so for our listeners and viewers out there, if you guys haven't checked out DMV Musicians, you fill out a small form on Facebook just about what your relationship is to the DMV area as a musician, and you can join, thousands at this point of other musicians around the area that come together and help each other out, from gigs to gear to everything else in between. So at this point in the show, we are reaching the end. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show and for being part of the Alchemicast. Really appreciate you guys taking the time. I wanted to ask you one last question. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything you got going on that you really want our viewers and listeners to know?
Okay, yes. We want you to come and join us on Instagram, because we are also visual artists through photography and video, coming out with a new video soon for Last Ditch. And our Instagram handle is
at Amulet the Band.
Yes, at Amulet the Band. So we try and post something new every day, eye candy and ear candy when possible. So we would love to have you.
Yeah, and let's just give a shout out also to Alchemical Records. We love what you guys are doing, and you're really also being, playing an important part of keeping that community and building that community of musicians in DC. So that's awesome. I think we've given like all our shout outs to the people who are like most sort of involved in our album, apart from ourselves. But we are putting a live band together, and we're hopefully going to be playing the album and some other songs we're writing out. We're looking for a lead guitarist right now. So if anybody's interested, you can find us at Amulet the Band on Instagram, and you can direct message us from there. So we've got a couple other folks who've joined us, Bob and Thomas, our rhythm guitar and drums we've been playing with. So that's going really well. We've only done a few rehearsals so far, but lead guitarists, if you check out our album, www.amulettheband.com. You can listen to the album if you like it. Yeah, go on Instagram and DM us, and we'd love to hear from you. And so, yeah.
And
that'd be
everyone
great.
else listens to the album too. Amulettheband.com.
Yeah, and if you feel like buying it from Bandcamp, that'd be great too.
That would be great.
Well, you heard it here. MJ and Stephanie, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. My name's Andy Reid, and this has been the Alchemicast right here on Alchemical Records. Amulet, you guys are awesome. I'll catch you again another time.
Thanks,
Have a
Andy.
good one.
Bye.
Bye.
In this dark room.